Accidental Marriage by Shadina. Chapter 15. It seemed to him that the paradox of love proved more complicated than that of even the gate. It was amazing and frightening all at the same time. You're worried about seemingly unnecessary things, such as appearance, what you say, do, and how the other person will view it, all at the same time feeling a strange sense of wholeness. Like this is who you really are because the other person is making you into it, and you could only hope you're doing the same for your love interest. Poor Edward had never really encountered this before, and Roy had only experienced on the rare occasion, mostly through childhood crushes, and was nowhere close to this strength. It was fascinating. Roy walked through the door carrying a few bags of groceries. After months of physical therapy and surgeries, he was finally able to get around with the use of a cane. He was so pleased with his redeveloped mobility that he used every chance he could get to go out into the fresh world beyond his oversized doors. Today was no exception. Ed had made a mention of there being nothing to eat, though there was, in fact, plenty, since practically every woman in Central, young and old, wed and unwed alike, seemed to take it upon themselves to feed and fatten the newly promoted Brigadier General up. He didn't mind too much, made life a bit easier. He didn't have to rely on Ed's cooking for survival. He grinned to himself as he put the bags down. Things between them had quickly accelerated when he was able to move around again. It had been frustrating when all they could really do was small touches and kisses because of him being confined or high on painkillers. It seriously killed his sex life, but Ed was helping him make up for the lost time now. He called for the younger male to help him with putting things away, and he heard the mismatched footsteps as the young man ran down the stairs to see what he had gotten. Ed rooted through the bags first so he could find the good stuff and claim them before even muttering a hello to his favorite bastard. Roy seemed rather accustomed to it, and so there were no words exchanged until Ed had found everything he wanted and was hoarding it to one end of the counter that was dubbed the I'll-bite zone. Once he was done, Roy felt it was safe enough to venture into conversation with him.
Tomorrow, I go back to work,
he started. Ed had been back for a while and was working under a temporary commander, a Lieutenant Colonel Nix. A fucking pushover, as Ed had so often described him. Ed was already getting into a bag of dried meat. Never thought I'd be happy to have you back in your office, but that Colonel Douche looks like he's going to cry every time I walk in to report, and he has nothing interesting for me to do. Ed continued to complain, causing Mustang to chuckle. It felt good, though he supposed he shouldn't take such joy out of mocking of another.
You come up with such interesting names for your superiors. It saddens me a bit, thinking I'm not as special as I had previously thought by acquiring a nickname from you.
Ed talked around the dried fish in his mouth. Not my fault he's a douche, I'm just telling the truth.
And believe me, your truth is very refreshing,
Roy said, half amused, half wondering where Ed hid his manners. One day he'd find them. Ed just scowled at him, hearing the sarcasm in his voice. Screw you! Roy snorted.
You have already done that.
That just caused Ed to grin and make Roy want to take back that statement along with the food the boy confiscated.
Anyways, back to what I was talking about. I'm back at work starting tomorrow.
The blonde rolled his eyes. Yes, you mentioned this already, bastard. Really, are you getting so old that you...
It has come to my attention that we have yet to do anything about the staff for their part in the practical joke that, well, created this.
He cut that off from a "you're so old" rant. Golden eyes blinked, then smirked. You've got a plan?
Have you ever known me to be without one, Full Metal?
Roy had known there was no way they could do the same stunt to them, fake marriage license, that is. So Roy had adjusted it to something different, just a bit. It was superb, if he did say so himself. One by one, he had watched his staff finish signing their promotion applications and acceptance. It was a beautiful sight, really. All of them so happy, talking to one another. Congratulations all around. It was well-deserved, certainly, but they would find out soon enough the real reason for the new general's pleased smile. It was Hawkeye, the first one to realize what had happened. It had taken 5 business days for things to be processed, and for it to come back to her. She was not happy in the least, and came storming into his inner office looking more pissed than he had seen her in a long while. He reached into his pocket in case his hand is in his glove.
Something the matter, Captain?
He asked politely, though he could clearly see that something was the matter, and he knew exactly what the matter was. What the hell is this? She demanded. Hawkeye rarely swore, and he went to put his other glove on.
It looks to be a marriage license, Captain. I see a congratulations is in order, Mrs. Hyman.
Don't you dare call me that! She shouted just as Fallman and Fury came in, both supporting their own copies of marital licenses, adding their voices on top of Hawkeye's. Roy ideally wondered where Ed was. He shouldn't be missing this. The door opened again, revealing a familiar blonde head, along with a red head, who looked scared out of his wits. Poor man, anyone would be married to Riza Heyman. On top of that, she owned a dog. There had only been one flaw in his plan. There was an odd number on his staff, but he quickly found a suitable fix for the mastermind of the original scheme. Jean Havoc had come racing into the room, his eyes wide and sweating profusely. "How could you do this to me?" he cried, grabbing Mustang's uniformed jacket and snickering behind Roy when he finally detached himself from Breda.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about, First Lieutenant,
he said, ignoring Ed's amused crackle. The door flung open for hopefully the last time. His poor amused door. He'll give it a polish later to apologize to it. "First Lieutenant!" a deep voice bellowed out of a large, insanely muscular man. He took the smoking blonde into his large arms, squeezing him to his chest. "While I realize this marriage is unconventional, I will treat you like I would any wife, giving you the finest happiness anyone could bear to have, in such as the Armstrong legacy demands." He swore to the newest member of the Armstrong family. Roy couldn't help but bask in the glory of the moment. The general had stuck the license in amongst the promotion paperwork, having called them in one at a time to fill it out and talking to them as they signed about what a wonderful job they did while he was gone and how supportive they've been. He had successfully distracted them enough not to pay attention to what they were signing, including the newly promoted captain. Since he had gotten them signed previously by an acting judge, he had to pay a lot for that. He simply submitted them and now was enjoying the fruits of his labor. Yes, this was wonderful indeed. He mentally wished them a happy fucking wedded year. He looked over at his lover, who after a moment returned the stare to share a smile. A happy wedded year indeed. End of Accidental Marriage by Shadina. If you enjoyed this recording or the content, feel free to leave a comment below or a review at the original story from the link in the description. If you wish to support this channel, please subscribe or consider becoming a member. Thank you for listening.